So I wanted to do a video about soy. It's become very popular over the past, I'd say, decade to state that soy causes feminization in men and that soy is bad for your health and that soy raises the risk of breast cancer and that soy raises the risk of prostate cancer, when the research actually shows the reverse of that. Now, I want to be clear. I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical professional, I'm not a physician, not a nutritionist, not a dietitian, etc. Okay, but I want to make it clear that you have probably been being misled regarding soy. Okay, soy has a positive association with improved body composition. Soy has an inverse association with all-cause mortality, an inverse association with heart disease, an inverse association with prostate cancer, an inverse association with numerous cancers, and it makes you live longer. Now, a lot of people have these ideas that, soy causes feminizing effects. This is actually not true. Soy, because of the weak estrogenic compounds in it, which are known as phytoestrogens, which phyto meaning plant and estrogen meaning estrogen. This binds to estrogen receptors, stopping estrogenic effects in most people, but in the case of postmenopausal women, it has just enough estrogenic effect to ease the symptoms of menopause. Okay? So keep that in mind. Now, what got me interested in soy? Now, people might remember in a video a while back I said I quit soy because I didn't feel quite right. For whatever reason, tofu I'm fine with. There's something in the faux meats, not all of the faux meats, okay? Like Boca burgers I'm fine with, the Impossible meat I'm okay with, and this new thing from Morningstar called Incognito I'm fine with. Like, for whatever reason, my body doesn't feel weird after consuming them. But some of the faux meats, I just don't feel quite right. I never had that problem with tofu. Currently, I'm eating 2 to 3 pounds of tofu a day. And people might go, oh, that's going to turn you into a woman. No, what that did is that brought me down from 185 pounds to 177 pounds. So what that did is that helped me by eating a much more higher protein diet through soy. I'm getting those health benefits from the soy, but I'm also getting the thermogenic effects from the increased protein intake. And because soy is a complete protein, it's meeting all of my amino acid needs much easier than simply it would be with my high consumption of other beans. I think what people need to what turned me on to soy? That's what I wanted to talk about. What turned me on to soy? People may have heard of the blue zones, okay? Before the blue zones, and before I was aware of before I was aware of the Seventh-day Adventist lifestyle, which I became aware of recently due to gerontologists I was friends with on Facebook. Before I became aware of the Adventists and the blue zones, I was aware of the Japanese diet and, more importantly, the Okinawan prefecture diet, the diet followed by the centenarians in Okinawa prefecture. Now, Japanese and Koreans, of course, are generally healthier than Americans and Western Europeans because of the differences in diet, although that's quickly changing, as it is in Okinawa, because they're embracing a more Western lifestyle. But I was aware of the lifestyle of the Okinawans from the time I guess I was around 15. Originally, I started taking isoflavone, or however you say it, the soy phytochemicals. I was taking capsules of them. And to be honest, they're fine, but I was still getting my protein from meat sources at that time. I was eating a lot of eggs. I used to eat about a half dozen eggs for breakfast back when I was really, lifting weights, doing karate, all that stuff, I would eat about 6 eggs for breakfast. And then my lunch would probably be like some kind of steak or fish, something like that. And then my dinner would be steak or sausage or something like that. I was actually on a very meat-heavy diet. Now, of course, I would eat ample amounts of vegetables. And when I say I was on a meat-heavy diet, yes, I would eat a lot of meat, but I would eat 3 or 4 times that in green vegetables, yellow vegetables, etc. I also ate a lot of dairy. It wasn't until I was about, I'm 38 now. It wasn't until I was, I'd say, when I was 21 when I began becoming a pescatarian. And then by the age of like 22 is when I became a lacto-ovo vegetarian, but I did occasionally eat fish, so I was still a pescatarian. And then like 23, 24, 25, that's when I was mostly a lacto-ovo vegetarian, although sometimes when I was at certain jobs, I would still embrace a pescatarian lifestyle just because it was easy to have a lunch that was, like 2 cans of sardines or something like that. When I went out to Arizona, I was predominantly a pescatarian. I would eat canned fish, predominantly mackerel and sardines because they're shelf stable, and I would also eat a lot of trout. You could fish for trout in the streams and creeks and such there. They're stocked. And I was hanging out with some Apache chick, and she actually would clean them and all for me. As long as I caught them, she cleaned them. And that's how I survived in the woods. And it's what the hell is that called? Bull Run was the name of the one campsite. Prescott National Forest was the other one. Although they say Prescott, it's Prescott. If you ask them Arizonans, it's Prescott. Again, that's why we need a unified English, a standardized American English throughout the whole country. But my point is it wasn't until I was in my mid to late 20s that I embraced strict vegetarianism, which I've continued to embrace. Now, when I was homeless for 4 years, I was still a vegetarian when I could be a vegetarian, but honestly, when you can get food, you can get food in that situation. So, that's what happened. So, mostly, I was a strict vegetarian until, I would say, I was 25, I think, when I stopped being, mid to late 20s when I became a strict vegetarian and kept with being a strict vegetarian. And I did so for ethical reasons. There was somebody that commented in my comments section saying that it was funny that I thought that being vegan was natural or healthy. Number one, veganism has been shown through the Adventist Health Study to be extraordinarily healthy, ridiculously healthy, if practiced properly. It also presumes that the reason that I went strict vegetarian or vegan, now I don't call myself a vegan because there's a whole lot of lifestyle things going on with vegans that I don't necessarily agree with, but my diet is vegan, meaning I follow a strict vegetarian diet is what I call it, meaning it's 100% plant-based. Although some of the supplements I take have gelatin capsules, etc., so some people might not even consider me to be a vegetarian. But my point is I became a strict vegetarian, and basically the reason soy plays such an important role in a healthy vegan lifestyle is because it replaces meat. Okay, you have to take that into consideration, especially things like tofu and soy isolate, as long as you're not allergic to these. That's what people don't understand. I used to have this idea, like how people are saying now, oh, you can't overeat one protein source or you'll develop an allergy and blah, 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 blah. I ate a hell of a lot of chicken. I ate a hell of a lot of beef. and I ate a hell of a lot of fish every day for a very long time. I would say from the time I could eat solid food until my early 20s, when I started embracing pescatarianism. I ate a whole hell of a lot of different meats and egg and dairy and all. Never developed an allergy to any of that. So I like what tofu has to offer. I like what a lot of the mock meats have to offer. I think that the protein and the protein composition, meaning the fact that you get a full amino acid profile, and these foods are predominantly protein, or at least they should be. Look for products that are predominantly protein. Make them an ideal substitute for meat, especially if you're taking a B12 supplement and a B-complex supplement. They are a perfect substitute for what would be considered, tortured animal or meat. Okay, so tofu is a great substitute for things like fish, chicken, beef, eggs, etc. And a lot of people, I don't know where they get this assumption. Like, a lot of people, you'll see these stupid memes like, do vegans get hungry when they mow their lawn or something like that. I've never had an issue with eating vegetables. I actually love vegetables. I've always loved vegetables. Asparagus was actually one of my favorite vegetables, so much so that my grandparents started growing asparagus just for me because I had such an appetite for asparagus when I was a young kid. But the thing is, it's not that vegans don't like the taste of meat. I love the taste of meat. I had a voracious appetite for meat. Anybody that knows me for real knows my voracious appetite for meat. I love the taste of meat, okay? But in reality, I first got into this for ethical reasons, okay? And that's why I know I said this is going to be all about, superfoods you were told were deleterious to your health. This is also about things that are deleterious to your health, like beef, chicken, dairy, okay? You have to understand, these foods are deleterious to your health too, but more importantly, I read a book called The Expression of Emotions in Humans and Animals by someone named Charles Darwin. People may have heard of Charles Darwin. And after reading that book in my early 20s, when I started embracing pescatarianism and then later vegetarianism, etc., I started realizing that it's not ethical to consume the flesh of other animals. It just isn't ethical. And then I found out later when I started, talking to gerontologists, real gerontologists and things like this, that veganism, strict vegetarianism, and like the consumption of soy products and things like that is associated with a longer life. In fact, the more you eat of things like soy, the longer you'll live. Of course, unless you're allergic to it. But what I'm saying is, the idea that, all protein is bad for you, which has become popular. A lot of people, I did that video about John Harvey Kellogg. And a lot of people said that he was anti-protein. No, he was anti-protein that was bad for you. John Harvey Kellogg was not against protein. He was the inventor of peanut butter. Remember I said I knew it was an Adventist that invented peanut butter? Well, it was John Harvey Kellogg that invented peanut butter. But he was one of the, he invented a number of mock meats. He was not against protein. He was against meat. He was against the deleterious effects of meat. What is it? New 5GC, I think is what it's called. It's an amino sugar that's in mammal meat that causes an increase in cancer, and it causes various deleterious effects. And it's in mammal meat and milk. Okay, it's not in poultry, but you have to understand the consumption of poultry, the consumption of meat, the consumption of fish is not associated with a longer life. Okay, the consumption of soy products is. And that's what you need to take into consideration. All these people that are, oh, you're a soy boy, yeah. The other thing is, when we're talking about anti-nutrients, I'm probably gonna do a whole video about, I think I may have already done one if I remember correctly, but I'm gonna do a whole video about anti-nutrients. I think if I remember, I did one on anti-nutrients and phytochemicals, and I'll put that in the description if I remember, if I actually did do that video. I know I was thinking about it pretty hard, but my point is what you have to understand with a lot of these anti-nutrients, if you cook the fricking food, a lot of times they're deactivated. Okay? So, like beans, if you cook them, now you should soak and strain your beans and all that, get rid of the phytic acid, etc. But the fact of the matter is, phytic acid has anti-cancer benefits. Okay? Yes, it blocks nutrient absorption. Yes, it upsets your stomach. But yes, it has anti-cancer benefits. Okay? But the fact of the matter is, with these phytochemicals that are actually, quote, anti-nutrients, some of them have health benefits. Okay? That's what you need to take into consideration. So it's a matter of balancing the anti-nutrients with the nutrients and things of that. It's nutrition should not be overcomplicated, and it should not be oversimplified. Too many people have an issue with overcomplicating nutrition. When I worked with fat people, people know what's good for them. They just don't want to know what's good for them. I guarantee you everyone knows that a brick of tofu is better for you than 6 eggs. Nobody wants to admit it, though, because they'd rather eat the eggs because the eggs taste better. But you can make tofu taste better. And that's what people don't understand. I'm going to call it quits with this video right there. Keep in mind, tofu, it's a superfood you were led to believe is deleterious to your health. Check the links in the description. There's going to be a link to a bodybuilder, a professional bodybuilder named Brian Turner that was eating, like I'm eating, over a pound of soy a day, and his estrogen levels were not affected really at all. Okay? And that's what you have to keep in mind, is you're being lied to by bro science, by the carnivore community, by all these people. And this is the same problem where people are thinking vegan and low carb can't go together. I'm doing vegan and I'm doing low carb simultaneously. Low carb and no carb aren't the same thing. Okay, and that's what people need to understand too. And I'm going to do a video about that in the near future, about what the difference is between low carb and no carb. And that's all for this video.